Hey y'all, it's Nay. Welcome back. I guess this is another continuation. Who knows? If you haven't watched my video I dropped before this and the one before that, check those out. Really just catch up on everything, to be honest. So, people would say, well, why did Esther get involved to begin with? Okay, boom, she got kidnapped or whatever to go to the place. But her uncle Mordecai knew that Esther was special. She was different. So she decided to change her name. So she became a new person, a new woman to have one night with this king. But also, she was doing that to save her Jewish people because people had their own way about the Jews. And she had to go and save the people. If she didn't save them, she would have perished. So the whole point was God told her that in order for her to get to that point of saving the Jews and stuff like that, she needs to get the king's heart. So people might be like, well, why do the king or why does a man have anything to do with that? Like, why she can't just save them or whatever? I don't know. Maybe you still trying to figure something out here, right? You're still not understanding. It really, really, really was important that Esther got the king's heart because that was the way for her to really be able to be who she wanted to be. But most importantly, the king was able to be who he wanted to be. And when the king was able to be who he wanted to be without the distractions of the counterfeits, the malicious people, the people that really was greedy, who were insecure, who wasn't trying to heal from their own trauma and stuff like that and wanted to have your life, right? They just wanted too much power on things, entitled, to the point where he even will attack his wife. So people might not physically attack your wife, but they might say it with words. They might really try to attack your wife. And this is when the king noticed who Haman was. Because at that moment, he came in, stopped the fight, and was like, you're really putting your hands on my wife. And what's crazier is that you're doing it while I'm here in the house. And that's when Haman was announced to be hung. But it's important that the woman went in there to win his heart because God knows love is really the center of it all. And if there's a king out here that is heartbroken and God can mend his heart and God knows how to mend his heart and his heart could be mended just by being with this girl. Because now they're able to just be. He can make all the right decisions to grow and be a better person. Right now, the king is able to think clearly because he don't have Haman around him giving him stupid advice or doing shit behind his back. You just never know. You don't want people around you that you just never fucking know. Especially when it becomes a time where you've been around this person for a while. Because now they're very entitled. So it's important for these kings to sharpen up their discernment, right? So that when people are coming on this path, when God sends this woman on this journey, you're able to identify who are your Hamans, right? You might only have one person, but sometimes it's many people with all different type of traits to make up to that one person. Did you hear me? Sometimes you might be around or not even around, just your energy is in different places, right? Everyone keeps a little bit of our energy if we are still in connection with them. So your energy is around many different places. So you're dealing with many different people with different things about them that can all add up to this one person that is just full of envy, full of hate. Full of yuck and uck. Full of the bottom of the pits of hell, if you didn't understand. So you might be looking at her like, oh, but I have a friend and they're not that crazy how Haman is. No, but they might have a piece of that. They might have something that Haman does have, right? And if it's showing so brightly, and this is what this person is displaying, right? Because we all have things that we display. When we come as humans and we're introducing ourselves to one another, we're like displaying ourselves in human form. And if this person, if I meet you and within that first meet, you're giving me jealous, envious, weird vibes. You're saying smart jokes, saying bullshit. I don't have a good vibe with you. It's barely a real smile. It feels forced or it feels fake. That can fuck up everything. That tells me exactly what it is. I see that piece of you of Haman already. That's enough. I don't need you to be everything else on the list that Haman is. That right there, that piece, that's enough for me. That's what it means to have the spirit of discernment. You know how to discern when it's pieces and people that is shining so bright to where that stays on your mind about this person. If you keep that negative impression on your mind about a person, that probably shined way brighter than the good. If there's nothing good really to say about you and I'm always saying something negative or I had a negative first impression or the vibe just was off, that's always just going, that's just you. You're just a vibe offie. She's a vibe offie. Ew. And then you might meet someone else or know someone else and maybe they're a vibe offie. Ooh. And then this one is a vibe offie. But they all have different type of things because that's how they would do it. So this shorty, she's a vibe offie in this way. He's a vibe offie as well, but his way is a bit different. But it's still ew. Because, different friends could be bad for different shit. Some of them are good for different shit. So this shorty, she might always just want to be around you. Right? Asking you to be there for unnecessary things, using you as her son or using you as her partner. And then that's a piece of Haman, right? Being too dependent on folks to the point where you'll jeopardize them leveling up in their lives because you want them there to cater to you. It's convenient. So that's a piece of Haman. Then you have someone here that's just a liar. Every time you making plans or you the one to make the plans, initiate plans, they always canceling or they're lying, they're making up stuff. I don't know. I'm just coming up with scenarios. But this could resonate with someone. And you notice when they hit you up, they want you to come somewhere, but you got to pay and tend to it. And it's not like your idea. It's like their idea, but you got to go and fund it and be supportive. But whenever you got something that you want to do and you're trying to invite them to it, they don't want to come. Something like that. It could be something like that. That's a Haman spirit. When people use you when it's convenient, when they want to, and then they using you for your coin too at that, and now you're starting to notice the patterns, that's a Haman spirit. Boom. So now they got that piece, a liar. You can have someone that's just always in mess, right? Who loves the drama. A gossiper who can't live without tea, but ain't really drinking tea, so they ain't gonna live for real. Ooh, Jesus. But yeah, so don't be thinking that like, oh, but I don't like Haman is too extreme because the Bible the stories do be extreme, but this is why you got to take the little pieces because and make it fit for your little life, right? Make it fit for your little life. Let's be real here. Obviously, you're not going to experience 100% Haman because you're not a fucking king in a palace somewhere, right? It's 2024. We don't even have kings anymore. Y'all get where I'm saying? You get where I'm going with this. So we got to think back in their times and how that was and what was going on in that life. Think about you now and what you're doing in 2024 and be humble and be serious about where you are. Put yourself in that king position in the way that it will fit, but be very realistic with it, right? Make this story a realistic story for 2024, but still use the whole context of the story that was made in the Bible, right? Got you. So it's really like, it's really important for a woman to like get into a man's heart the way that needs to be the right woman. It's like finding the right key, right? Because love make the world go round. If we have more loving relationships, people will be able to make more genuine and thoughtful and understanding moves because you're with the right person. When you're with the wrong person at times, they can persuade you to do things that you're not really comfortable with. When you're with the wrong person, you might even be working or doing things right now that you're a bit uncomfortable with. Because when you're with the wrong person, you might not actually be living on your purpose, because there's no way. If you're on your purpose, you're not going to have time to be dealing with the wrong person. You're going to have a sharper discernment to discern properly of what. And once you get to that point, a lot of things become ucky to you, right? So you're able to discern friends. And now it feels like you don't have any friends because you can see through the bullshit every fucking time. Family members, same thing, even if they're distant. Co-workers, acquaintances. You know? Now you're able to read the room. It feels like you're able to see things differently now because you are. A lot of people cannot see the stars. But once they see the stars, it's beautiful. And that's what God's whole goal is for us to really see the stars. And then you become appreciative. You become grateful. You become serious. You're like, okay, I gotta do this. Like, I don't have no choice but to succeed in life. Like, I need to figure out a way to succeed for my family and my life. And if you're someone who believe in God and you feel like you're always led by God, you're saying that you're going with the flow of God and you're walking on God's plan, God is going to always lead us in a kind of similar paths, you know? It's always about finding a partner, the woman finding their king, a man finding a woman, having to fight hard for a woman, right? A woman coming in on La La Land, being able to see things and speak things and feel things that other people might not understand. And the guy is like, what the heck is this? But it all comes together for his good. But you got to be able and willing to eventually say, oh, I see the stars, and stop being fucking slow. Because in that moment, right, let's talk about Esther real quick. Hadassah, aka Esther. In that moment when she was shining the necklace on the light and asking the king and Haman if they could see the stars, because she started to see them. As soon as they put the necklace onto the light, we were seeing from Esther's point of view. And it was lights going all around the room, all around the palace. And she thought that he was able to see the stars at this point. He had reached a specific point and she thought that he was able to see. And she was like, you still can't see. Like, you can't see the stars. Like, can you not see the stars? Because they have gone through some levels and she know that she had his heart by then. She know that, like, he had to have felt something there. He had to see what she see. But in that moment, of course, he didn't say he seen the stars. He still said that he didn't see anything. You know, hey, him and Haman were just sitting there, and she was just standing up like, do you see the stars? You don't see this? You don't see this? And it was just like dead silence when they gave us the point of view of Haman and the king. It was like no stars. It was just like, in her point of view, she was the only one seeing stars around this room. And then it's like that situation happened. The enemy tried another tactic. So the enemy is going to push itself out, right? The same way the enemy pushed itself in to bring him in to see Esther when she was talking to her uncle Mordecai, and have the king think that she was unloyal, unfaithful, or just up to no good, just having different motives, or thinking that she wasn't serious or she really didn't love him. That's all it was. He just thought in that moment she really didn't love him. She was for play. So the enemy came in for the king to see that, just for him to break himself right back out, with him making that bold move to address Esther and attack her in the king's palace. But it's like, it took a moment. It took a moment. The king did not say right then and there. So it was like Haman was still winning. This is why he felt like he had the entitlement. He had the audacity to put his hands on Esther. And again, whoever is Haman in your life, they probably will not physically put their hands on this woman, but they might mentally abuse. Anything like that. But we see that it took a moment. That happened. Like, that had to happen. When she asked him, when she came back and said, bro, do you see the stars? After everything, knowing that he felt what he felt, she knew that he had to see the stars. It was almost as if she was like, what? Like, how don't you see the stars, bro? Like, are you serious? You don't see these stars? Like, you don't see what I see in this crystal, my nigga? Do y'all remember when I dropped the video, y'all, when I said, son, it was the video about my God's sons, because I got a different title right here in my messages. God says, son, I love you. God says, son, I love how you love me. But the title for that video was Sons of God, this message is for you. And when I was saying, this is so crazy how this is a cross connect. If y'all hear me, y'all hear me. If you have a ear to hear, you really hearing me right now. Like, really hear this right here. This is kind of cool how I'm about to connect this. So remember when I was talking about in the video with the sons of God, and how I seen in my vision the guy being basically like walking through his initiation, kind of like. So in the movie of Esther, which is it's called One Night with the King. Look it up. It's on YouTube, y'all. I want y'all to watch that. If you ain't watched it, if you already watched it, because I already watched that. I've been watched that. But I just rewatched it. There's nothing wrong with that. Rewatch it. Because now you're going to see it in the way that I'm seeing it. You feel me? You feel me? You feeling me? So now you're going to see it in a different way, because I'm giving you a different outlook on it now, right? So when I watched it, I was looking at it in a different way, because I was trying to really understand a different intellect. It wasn't, even though I understood it the first times, or the first couple times I watched this, or I've read about this story, when you going with a certain intent, you're going to get a certain intent back. And I went in to really figure out what part of the journey was God's daughters on. You know, because I was getting the vibes of Esther, like they are Esthers. Like, it's Esthers. It's a Esther being brought up. It's a Esther. There's a Esther situation going on. But I wanted to know, like, which part of the journey was where we at or whatever like that. But remember in my dream, we gonna get back to that. Remember in the dream, not my dream, it's kind of like a vision. And I see the guy walking through, and it's giving like Jerusalem or something, because all I see is sand. And it was like I'm looking down from the king's point of view, y'all. Because obviously I'm not there. But it's like I'm walking through as the king, but I know he's the king. It's the king, but I'm seeing what the king is seeing. Y'all got it? So now, for you to get the visual, you're me, and we're walking the way that the king is walking. We're walking in the king's body, so we're able to see what the king is seeing, okay? Are y'all in position? Y'all ready? So in the vision, I can see the king walking down this pathway, and it's kind of like in One Night with the King when Haman and them would be coming through, but they was on like animals and stuff. But this time the king, he was just walking, and it was just people on both sides of him, on the left and right. And I see him walking, and at first I didn't see no stick, no rod, but I feel like he's beginning to get a rod as he kept walking, right? So he's walking, and the point I'm getting at is with the crystal, because with Esther movie, she was putting the crystal at the light and she seen the stars. And he was walking through, and I told y'all in that video, please go watch that video. I speak the truth of Christ, I lie not. This just came to my mind, and it fits so perfectly. Now I don't feel as bad as saying, I never felt bad, but you know, people be tripping out when you talk about crystals and seeing the future and seeing things and seeing your life. And it's like, babe, just because you can't, or you don't feel that, or you're not being called to explore that, don't mean that it is wrong to do. You just stay in your lane and let people do what they do. It's either you vibing with it or you ain't. And if you ain't, you got free will to get the fuck out. That's the beauty about life. Everybody has free will to exit a video if they do not like what is being said and go about their day. They don't gotta like it. They don't gotta dislike it. They ain't gotta leave a comment. You just leave and go exit. That's like if you're at a school, if you're at a church, if you don't like what someone is saying to you, I want you to understand it is okay for you to get up and leave. Never feel like you have to sit somewhere and listen to something that you're not okay with. Okay, period. Including me. Thank you. Now, hope we got that all taken care of. So now back to the vision of the king walking through. I said when he was walking through, it was like there was these big crystals, and it wasn't crystal balls. They wasn't carved in any shape. It was like actual real crystals that just fell from the rocks that had all types of shape to it. You know, sharp edges just all around. It was just no shape. It was its own shape. And as he was approaching these crystals, he was getting insight of his life and seeing like challenges and things that was going to happen and things that was going to also happen for him. You know, the goodness as well. And this is why he was always running back crying, because he was a very humble guy who just didn't expect all of this or not really want all of this to happen. Like he just didn't expect it, or he was scared to step into the king position and accept everything because it's new. Like if that's something that you're not really used to, but it's something that you will want. Like, you know, if you grew up somewhere where you don't really have that, it's like, of course you're grateful and stuff, but it's a bit scary when you know that you're being given that. I don't know. It's weird, y'all. It's weird, but if you get me, you get me. So this person was still a bit nervous of the changes and seeing what was to come in their life, and they kept running away. But every time they tried to get away, there was someone that was like 9 feet away from them to always turn them around and put them right back forward. And they didn't, you know, you might not realize, but like they was moving through to different levels every time, but they were seeing in these crystals, you know, like seeing a light. It was like they were seeing things inside of this crystal within their life. And it was like, now that I'm connecting it to the story of Esther, it's like maybe this person, God, oh my God, and the guard gave her that specific piece of jewelry. He was like, this is new, and he would see this as, you know, like impressive or whatever like that. When they were, you have to watch the videos prior to this, please, thank you. But It just is so crazy how this aligned, where it's like the woman was given the crystal where he could see back to his life, and he can have that moment of initiation back when God was first crowning him and telling him he was going to have this life. Like, you are going to be a king, and this is going to happen, and you're going to fall in love with this, and you're going to have this, and this is this, and you're going to save the Jews from this because people misjudge them, or this, and this, and help this community and save this. So he was being already shown this while he was young. Remember, I said in the vision, this guy was looking young. He was like 16, 17. So men, think back around that time. What happened in your life around 16, 17 years old? But this person was looking young. This doesn't look like a grown man that's walking down. And because a grown man, I think he would feel a bit shameful to run. This guy was still young, so he was very vulnerable, where he still was open to showing his feelings. And he was like running and tearing. And no one judged him. No one laughed in the crowd. Every time he got pushed and turned around to come back walking straight, he was still honored as a king. And they were just like, come on. No one was like, come on. But, they just like, come on. And we still walking. And he just going to the next step and the next step. Just learning everything about his life and what is to come. And I feel like, y'all, with that vision that I just spoke about, this was yesterday, I believe. I dropped that. When that woman was given that crystal, she was able to hit this man back to the heart, back to the roots, to remind him of who he was as a king, of the responsibility, the things that he had to handle. It took him back to his 16, 17-year-old self. Her having that piece of jewelry, it's like God will give you the tools. Remember, God gave her the tools to win over this king's heart. She just needed to do what she needed to do. She was already the one. She just needed to be herself. She didn't have to do nothing special. She just needed to be her fucking self. Her job was to go there and be herself and get his heart. Because the piece was it was going to show. He was going to see the stars. He was going to see the stars. That thing is deep right there. It might have took a while. It was going to take a while. It did take a while, actually. But eventually he saw the stars. He was reminded of being a good person. He was reminded what life was about. He was reminded that you don't persecute people that didn't do anything. Right? He realized that Haman was the issue. And if you want to thrive in life, we got to get rid of the issues. Get rid of the problems, right? Distance ourselves from people that hold these type of spirits in them, or energies, whatever you want to express them as. But it's up to us to put people in their rightful positions. If you have someone in a position that they shouldn't be in for a long period of time, imagine how much time you're wasting, or you have wasted with this person, and how much they have actually held you back. The king was around Haman for a while. Remember when the wife found that piece of document and she burnt it? It said like 13 years ago. He was fucking shit up for like 13 years, for the last 13 years. How have your life been for the last 13 years? How has your life been significantly different hanging around specific Hamans? I want people to really think about this. Have they been an impact in your life in any way? And you might think it's subtle, but that might matter. Because if someone is subtly doing something in your life, but they're around for long years, for year after year after year, that subtleness becomes a buildup. And you're so much in that, remember that bush, that burning bush. Now you're so wrapped up deep And it's like, you're going to bust. You're going to burst. And the burst here to me was when Haman actually put his hands on the queen. Your Haman's actually disrespecting the queen and you having to stand up and come to the defense. When if you would have had a little bit more discernment or patience, understanding, I feel like the problem was shown by the enemy when he caught her with Mordecai, who was actually her uncle, but he didn't know that was her uncle, and she couldn't just say it because they needed to go with the plan because he was considered a Jew and she was the queen. You get me? But that was the enemy's way of getting them to have some type of tension, right, within their relationship, within their connection. And now when that happens, the king decides to lean more onto the enemy because the enemy is there to help this king, right? This king has experienced something traumatic. His heart is aching because he thinks she is with someone else, but that was really her cousin, or it wasn't nothing like that. It's not what you seem. I mean, I think that's exactly what she said from the movie. It's not what you think. But because his feelings was hurt and he had Haman there, he just started to lean onto Haman. Leaning on the wrong people will fuck you up. They be waiting for that. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Like what? They be waiting for that. Any little way they could come in and seem like they saving the day. They the greatest friend and business, whatever Haman wanted to call himself. It looks like the king's bitch to me. That's what I call Haman. Shit. If you ain't the king, you ain't the king. You just the bitch to the king. Excuse my language, but, excuse yourself, actually. Folks got to get a hold of this Haman. That's what I'm hearing. Because it's going to get to a point where the enemy knows that something is twinkling in this king's heart. He's beginning to see again. His heart is beginning to warm up, right? It's been cold. It's been hard. It's starting to soften up. So now this is the enemy's last biggest trick. And it was a big one. It cost them their life. So the Hamans in your life, they might not physically die, but they might be cut off from your life, from your union. They might have to be separated from the union. They might, you might need to add some distance. There may be distance that is going to be put in this union because this person, this Haman, is going to really do something disrespectful. For some people, it will be a physical fight, but for some people, it's not going to be a physical fight. It's going to just be a mental thing. And they're going to say some things out of their mouth that's going to just go crazy. And a king is not really going to appreciate that. And it's going to be a really big fallout situation. And this Haman will finally be put into their place. And the king will start to see things and realize what it is that God is trying to show them. And the king's heart will be softened, which means there will be more love shown on the earth. And if you're leading by example, everyone will follow and show more love. And the vibration of love will exceed. When you have people in charge in these positions who are happy and who are living in the lifestyles that they should, when people are in their rightful positions, it helps change the whole momentum of things. If you have angry, sad, bitter, cold-hearted people in these leadership positions, they're only showing people that you should be a bitter leader. You should be angry. You should be non-committal. You should be unjust. You should lie. You should scam. You should cheat. So if we start to change the hearts of these leaders, if God sees this leader as worthy, God seeing the king as worthy, because he still gave Esther to the king, right? If it's up to God that he wants to, bring someone in to change their heart, to save this king, then it will be done. And he's going to send in the right person, the right piece, with the right tool that you need to open up that heart. With Esther, she had that physical necklace with the crystal. My vision that I spoke about, it was just a vision of like crystals on the side. I walked through and I could still see it clearly. But it's like within the physical, it may not be like a physical object. You might have just been told to say some things and plant some seeds in their mind. Or maybe you were physically, you like traveled somewhere, or you went somewhere, or you guys set up a time or place or a date, whatever, like that. But it doesn't have to be like a physical object. That's what I'm getting. Like, you don't need like a physical object to show. But it's just funny how she had a physical object to see stars in the room, and it was giving off of the vision that I just spoke about, I think, yesterday. And I dropped that video, so y'all should check that out expeditiously to know that, like, ain't no cap in my rap. But it's crazy how it really works together. But yeah, so you might not have like a physical object, but God is still giving you the tools that you need to approach this king to win over his heart, because you're actually the perfect match. And by you guys coming into union, this will change the whole vibration on earth, because the example will be a great example. It will be a loving example. It will be an example of God, of Jesus Christ. So if God sees fit that this king's heart can be changed, should be changed, he will send in the right mate. He will send in his Esther to come in and be herself and win him over and remind him it's okay to be yourself and be normal and to love, because he was kind of ucky about it. Like, he didn't understand how the Jacob and Rachel story was like a love story or whatever like that, but he was still interested. He was saying little things about it, and he wanted to find a queen. But in those times, you just be settling. It's not about like really falling in love, but he knew with this, it was something different and it was something special, and he was reminded, and eventually he saw the stars, which was beautiful, amazing. You want your spouse to see the stars. You want your spouse to remember the promise, to remember that they're still God's child, to remember all the prayers that they gave to God. Like, God is sitting around and he's like, not sitting around, but God is like, you prayed some special, deep, meaningful prayers to me, son, that I could never forget about. And some have to do with, a love or a relationship. Like, I can't just forget about some of these prayers, because I knew that it was really from your heart. And I know it's your heart desire. And I'm trying to fulfill your heart desire, son. So it's important for a relationship to really become one, because it can really change just many communities, and just, it could really make an impact. It could really just make an impact and change things for the better and just give other people hope. Like now Esther's guard, he's going to really have hope in the Bible stories that Esther was speaking about and reading on, because he can see that she got her king at the end. They made things work at the end. He can see that it didn't go in vain. It's like they all was working towards the same mission, and the mission was accomplished. Because the guards is like God's spiritual team who was giving her insight and giving her tools and things that she needed to fulfill this job. So he was still on the right team regardless, you know? And it's like the whole point was to get her to get with the king. She just needed one night with the king to really make him fall in love. Okay? So you guys could have had like one night together, one day together that really made you stand out, or you could have said something within this one night, one day to your king. You could have said many things, who knows? And it really made you stand out to this king. And once you do that, it's great. It's awesome. It's wonderful. Now they're able to start to turn around and see the light. But, the enemy is still going to try to do their last little tactics. But by that time, it'll be too clear, It'll be too clear. God doesn't choose anyone that is not wise. Yes, we might make, stupid mistakes as we're growing, when we're a child especially. But if God chooses you to be king, or if God set you apart to be a wife, right, for a specific purpose, right, to change a family's dynamic, it's like some relationships have to be together to be able to tell each other's story. Like, your story is incomplete without this person. The king's story is incomplete without Esther. Esther's story is incomplete without the king. That's what her story is about. Her story is about finding this king and getting with him. Esther didn't know what this king was like. She didn't know what to expect. She just knew she was on an assignment to find this king and get him to like her, to choose her as queen. And she didn't really care to be chosen as queen. This shows you, right, to relate to here, to the real world. In 2024, some of these women, some of these Esthers wasn't worried about becoming queen. They was happy doing what they were doing alone. They had a good connection with God. They was happy on their own. They was happy in their own space. They were brought. They were brought. They didn't go. They were brought there. Because she was a Jew and Mordecai was a Jew, and they wanted to save and help Mordecai and stuff like that, she had to start a whole different assignment, and things were a bit different for her. But let's be real here. She was brought there. She was brought there. She was set apart. They were set apart to be wives for this king. She didn't ask to be there. Her life was going just fine. She probably really didn't care to be there. And if Esther cared to be there in the beginning, it's because she wanted to figure out the situation with him and the Jews. Because they were doing some crazy shit, just pulling people and stuff like that, right? Killing them and torturing. But what I'm saying is, God always know, like, the missing pieces to the puzzle, especially a man. And it's like, if this man didn't get his Esther, that whole palace will be ran by, people controlling him, and it just wouldn't have been, things wouldn't have been changed. The Jews would have been all slaughtered and killed, dead probably. So it was like, it's deeper than just love, right? People was like, oh, love is, no, it was deeper than that. It's like, if Esther didn't make that move, God would have been very disappointed in Esther. You think Esther wanted God to be angry with her because he told her to send a message to her king? You think Esther not going to move because when God is telling her to do something? So it's like Esther's just moving on her obedience and coming into this chaotic world. The world was very chaotic. Like, when Esther got into the king's world, it was very chaotic. He was having a situation with his queen. He was in a whole process of a divorce, damn near. You feel? It was very messy. It was a bit messy. He had Haman there. He had someone manipulating him. Someone that had his name on the rights and all this weird shit. And it's like your spouses, when you were called to go to this place, which means when you were brought to this person's world, you didn't know who the king was. You didn't know what to expect. You just knew that you were being prepared to be a wife. Right? And when Esther got there, she didn't know what to expect, right? Until she saw the king. And it almost felt like it was a familiar face, right? In the scene of the movie, it was like, obviously we know that she don't like know the king or whatever. But when she finally looked up at him, it felt like they did know each other. So if you guys, your kingdom spouse, this could indeed be someone that you did know, and you had to go out and go meet your king. And then boom, God told you that it was someone that you was going to know, but you seen them in a different way and you actually liked them. You actually seen them in that way. You was like, oh, it was like she saw the king for the first time and was like, oh, him, he's the king. He's my king. So you all, ladies, the first time you found out who your kingdom spouse was, you probably was like, oh, he's my king, but you wasn't mad at it. It was like, oh. So again, you didn't go searching to find, no, you were brought there. Like, hey, let me tell you something. I need you to do something because this is your king, actually. Hey, actually, you're going to go about it this way. If you want to save your people, you want to save your community, babe. If you want to just save your world, I know this doesn't have anything, you feel like, why does love have anything to do with it? It's like, I just want to save my people. Like, I want to save my family, And this could be you, ladies. You could be like, I just want to save my lineage, my family. I just want to change things in my family. What the freak does it have to do with love? And it's like, God is like, well, babe, if you don't go after this, you ain't going to get none of that done, because this is a part of it. This is part of your story. He is a part of your story. This is going to actually help you to become that. And you're like, huh? But if it's going to help me become that, whatever, I'll do it. I'll go. Bye. I got to go then. If this the person, this is the will. If this, I got to go get my king. Let me go get my king. And then you get in line, you get forced, you get grabbed up and yoked and taken to this place. And there's other people there that you discover that's on the same journey of being prepared for their kings. And you're like, oh, okay, this ain't that bad. It's somebody that's an Esther out there that's like, I'm fine with being prepared to meet my king. I don't really give a F about it. I'm not pressed to be a queen right now and be married. But if this is what God has me doing right now, then cool, let's do it. And you just go on with the flow, and then you see your king, and some of y'all is like, oh, this my king? I know this guy. Because some of y'all is with people that you've already known before, and some of y'all is new people. You like, oh, but it feels so familiar. When y'all see each other, it feels like, oh, Y'all know what I'm talking about. There's an instant spark that she feels. So you know, we be like, why do we have to do this? Or union and partnerships is all so important with God. We like, I don't, when is people going to understand that? Like, God doesn't like people just being alone and not working together and being together and being fruitful and multiplying in earth. Like, if you want to live alone, you might as well forever, you might as well ask God to take you away, because he don't have you on earth to just want to be alone. Like, as a human being, everyone craves love. As much as they want to hide it or they don't want to admit it, we all crave that sense of love, and we all have a sense of wanting to belong, right? And this is why people are around these Hamans for a long period of time, right? Being around people. People are addictive. And if you don't discern properly, you'll be addicted to the wrong people, or people that are wrong will be addicted to you, which is kind of sometimes worse when someone is addicted to your energy and you're trying to back away or free yourself from it. So that's why it's up to you to not get yourself too deep up in that. You dig? But yeah, I think I'm going to end this here. I hope I hit everything that I wanted to touch base on when it came to that story. That story just got dissected all over the place, okay? I just dissect that thing like it was a pig or a frog on the table, okay? Dang, I remember science. In college when I did that. That was crazy. Dissecting animals and stuff like that. But it was cool to see, you know? But still crazy. But yeah, y'all. So, like, sometimes there's no way to get around it. Sometimes your king is connected to your success. Your king is connected to your freedom. You feel me? Like, I think that's going to be the title. Like, sometimes in order for you two to come together, that's the only way y'all gonna find success, or the only way you're gonna find peace. Because if she never came with him, he would still be around Haman, and who knows what Haman will be doing right now, you know? Like, you would still be around the wrong energy, still have that type of environment. And that's why God sent her in, because he was like, I don't like this environment. I need y'all to be more like Esther. Let me show you Esther. She's just herself. And that's why God sent her in. He was like, I need you to be yourself during this journey, because I need this person to truly watch you and see how you can really be yourself and flourish and love God and still do what God needs you to do. And you don't be hurting nobody. You're going to have the best time. So he sent Esther on a really big assignment for the whole journey. You know, and I pray that the women that is on their Esther journey right now, I pray that you're not let down at the end of it. I pray that God set you up with the right king, or I pray that your king see the stars sooner or later, you know, so that you're able to be free, so that you're able to live and do the things that you need to do on this world for your family and for generations to come, for neighbors, for whoever, just people that believe the same way that you believe, for your community. I pray that your king sees the stars. If your king is attached to your freedom, I definitely pray that that happens for you. And I wish people understand how unions and partnerships really are important sometimes when it comes to these dynamics. And this is why some people miss out on a lot of wealth and their spiritual abundance and, you know, spiritual inheritance and family inheritance and stuff, is because they end up with the wrong people. And then they don't have the assets to leave for their families and stuff. So the point is to marry or partner with the right people to really build and grow, You know, he needed the right woman that was going to show him how to be himself. Someone that was able to stand out from the rest and not be like the rest. Someone that brought something different and new to the table. Someone that was sparking that godliness in him, right? He needed someone that was going to really just stand out and be different, because he was always around the same. And obviously, this is a king that has options, because he had the option to choose many. So he's a good looking king. Right? He's of value. But with a king like that, you have to approach the situation different. You have to really be a different type of girl to capture his heart. And this girl was sent on an assignment by God, because God knew what she was able and capable of doing. That's his daughter. That is his daughter. But, you know, it's crazy if you think about if he didn't, you know, see the stars. And it's just crazy what people get away with. You know, Haman got away with a lot. But I'm going to end this right here. This message was so long. Oh, my gosh. I will catch y'all in my next video. Bye.